welcome back to State and Local. I'm Anne-Marie Battistone, and of course you're watching Norfolk Public Access. I'm very pleased today to have another candidate. This will be for the November election, and that would be Michael Soter, who is running for Commissioner of Norfolk County. He was just re-elected for the second time as a selectman of Bellingham, and he's going to talk to us about himself, but also I want to know what a commissioner does and what are some of the ins and outs regarding local aid and state aid and so forth that affects the lives of people in Norfolk County. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, tell me something about yourself.
My name is Michael Soter. I live in Bellingham. I've resided in Bellingham for the last 8 years. I have a beautiful wife, Casey McNamee Soter, beautiful 3-year-old daughter. Wonderful community that I live in. Bellingham has accepted us with open arms. It was a great place, a great choice for us to reside. Originally born and raised in Worcester, Massachusetts, so I know big city politics. I was involved in community activism in our neighborhood civic association. I was the president for many years. Actually, it was passed down from my dad.
This is Worcester.
This is Worcester. So when I came here to Bellingham, we actually wanted to get involved. My wife and I were frustrated. We just adopted my 3-year-old daughter. She was 2 weeks old when we adopted her. It's been a special part of our life, blessing in our life. And we were frustrated because there's a lot of ins and outs about laws and regulations and things like that. And one day I just got absolutely frustrated. My wife said, "You know what? You need to run. You need to get involved. Stop complaining and get involved."
Stand up or stand aside.
Absolutely. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. And so I did. I pulled papers for Bellingham Selectmen. I was traveling for work, and I had a few campaign people that were involved in my campaign for Selectmen, and I was hemming and hawing about doing it. I didn't know if it was the right time. And my boss, actually, for my positions, basically said, you know, pull the papers, do it. And within an hour we got our signatures. We were on the ballot, and in a 6-week campaign we beat basically a lifelong resident in Bellingham. She was an incumbent, very nice person, but just we had a stronger campaign. We knocked door to door, and I came within, I think it was like 37 votes of another gentleman I was running against who was a lifelong resident. So we ran a very good campaign, but what basically we talked about was we wanted to make government transparent. We wanted to go there and get things done. We wanted to focus in on things in Bellingham that will make Bellingham successful. And I'm proud to say after 3 years, we've got 3 years of budget surplus. We've got a police station that broke ground about 2 months ago with no 2.5 override or debt exclusion attached to it. We just added almost $1.3 million this year. We added $600,000 last year to the school budget, so we're not neglecting the education system in our schools. Now, our school system, just like every school system in this county, is going through a lot of transition, and we're looking at efficiency plans for the future to make our schools better, and we're going through that. As a matter of fact, last night we had a very heated but good discussion about what is the future plans of our schools, which ones do we have to close for attrition and things like that. But it's one of those discussions that we had a heated discussion, and the school board is going to make a great decision. But the selectmen have always supported, and we've been able to support the education system. We've done great things, like we have a new water filtration system that's going in to our town, $15 million project.
Oh, well, that's so.
But the best thing for us, the biggest thing for us is we've been fiscally disciplined. We've got to a point where, as a selectman over the last 3 years, we prioritize what our needs are. There are different things there are different projects that we can fund and we can't fund. Exactly. One of those things are right now in this budget we added 4 new police officers in this budget. We increased our budget 6.5%. Think about that. 28 cities and towns in Norfolk County. How many of them can actually increase their budget by 6.5%?
Well, now you have a lot of tax revenue coming in from all those businesses, isn't that
Yeah,
right?
we
I mean,
do,
that's been a
and
blessing.
that's the thing. And
That's been
that's,
there for, how long has that been there? About maybe 20 years?
yeah, it started with actually the power plants coming into town, and then the shopping plazas coming in, and Bellingham has definitely grown. I mean, they've grown into a business. I think we've done a very good job at looking at our tax split to keep our tax split at a base where taxpayers are paying, residents are paying not a high amount, and we're not grossly overtaxing our businesses, so we make it very attractive. I mean, we're getting a new business right now that's looking to move into,
business-friendly.
yeah, I mean, we have a new business that's looking to move from a neighboring town to expand their business into Bellingham, because one, our tax base is very attractive to them, the logistics aspect of where Bellingham is on the
absolutely.
495. But that's the great thing about Norfolk County. I mean, Norfolk County is one of those counties that has major throughways going through,
Yes.
and we can attract a lot of business, and we should be looking at that. And that's one of the things that some will say, well, county commissioners don't have that responsibility. But, I try to take things to the next level. Everybody told me there were certain things that I could only do as a selectman. Well, I'll tell you, there are things that they thought that I could only do as a selectman, but when I got there, I pushed, and we got things done. I mean, this police station that we talked about building, that was a $12.5 million project when we first talked about it, and everyone knew it wasn't going to happen. I got there and I said, you know what, we can make this happen, but let's all work together, let's put our differences, and let's put a police station together that will get us there for the next 50 years. Some will say, well, you should plan for the next 100 years. Well, that's great, but here's the situation at hand. You can build a home. When you build a home, you build it with good bone structure. And then as your family expands, you either decide you want to buy a bigger home or you expand it. Well, every house that I've owned, I've always either done something to it because it has good bone structure. My first house I bought, I expanded it. It had good bone structure. And that's what this police station is going to do. You start with a base. It's much better than where we are today. I mean, we're in an old DPW barn right now.
Now, where are you Where is it right now? Because the center of Bellingham.
Right in the center of Bellingham.
Where
See, a lot of people don't know where
the green is there?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's right smack dab in the center where the town hall is. It's behind it. A lot of people don't realize it. The old town hall's next to it. The police station's there, and then we got the administration behind it. So a lot of people don't even realize that where it is.
Now, did they redo that center with the grass and the park there during your time, or was that
no,
prior?
that was prior to my time, where the old, I think it was A&P was there, or I think it was A&P, or it was a Wall Bombs or something like that that was there. They were talking about putting in a bowling station or a bowling alley or something with that, but then we turned it into a park. Beautiful
Oh, it looks
park.
nice. Very
beautiful,
nice.
Beautiful. Again, these are things that were done that we've always had a way about us in town that we all have differences, but we all came together for the common good of the taxpayer. And that's why I'm running for Norfolk County Commissioner. The gentleman that I'm running against has been there 20 years. And I admire him for being there and getting involved.
Now, there's one commissioner per county.
You can only have one commissioner per town on the board. So there's only 3 positions, so you can't have, so for example, if when I win in November, I'll be from Bellingham. You can't have another, in 2 years, the other 2 county commissioner seats will be available. You can't have another person from Bellingham on the county.
There are only
commission.
3 commissioners in there. Now,
Yes.
what does the commissioner do? I don't really know what they
Commissioner is in charge
do.
of the Norfolk County budget. They're like 3 selectmen.
really?
Yes, they're 3 selectmen.
Well,
They're
that's
in
a big
charge.
job.
Yeah, they're in charge of the revenue. It's about a $27+ million budget. They're in charge of the revenue for the county. They handle the family court, building, maintenance of the building, register of deeds, register of probates. They have that. They don't no longer take care of the sheriff's department. That comes under its own purview. They also take care of Norfolk Aggie. They control the budgets for Norfolk Aggie. They appoint a director for the Norfolk Aggie School. They also manage the President's Golf Course that's on the Quincy-Milton line. And they also have some recreational areas in the county that they manage, and the pension budgets, and the pension and workers' comp insurance budgets too. So,
Now, do you look into the investments, or is that somebody below the commissioner that actually?
Well, you have a pension. You're talking about the pension
Yes.
person takes. No, that's a separate position. You also have a county treasurer too that handles that's an elected position, a county treasurer of Norfolk County, which quite frankly, he's a great he's a great guy. He's got a great track record. Actually, I'm very intrigued to meet him because he has a great track record. He's really done well for the pension. He's done well for the county. You know, some people might say, well, you're on different opposite sides of the spectrum. He's a Democrat, you're a Republican. You know, to me, those are just labels. There's a lot of common ground in a lot of different politicians. We can stand for a lot of different things, as long as we don't lose our core beliefs. And this county treasurer is very fiscally disciplined in the way he runs the county pension. He does a great job with it.
Now, how do the duties split up between what the commissioner does and the treasurer? How does that divide?
Well, the commissioner is like selectmen. I mean, they actually put together the budget plan forward. They have all the department heads come in just like a selectman would. You also have engineering that the counties oversees.
So the commissioners would be their boss.
Yeah, I guess you would say that. I don't like to use that terminology. I don't use that terminology in our government. I'm not their boss. I'm an elected official that oversees the taxpayers' dollars. I don't micromanage. My theory of managing in the private sector and public sector is, you know, there's that old theory: you give enough rope. My way of management has always been that you don't make employees, or you don't make, in this case, county employees, you don't talk about making them part of the problem, because they're not part of the problem. Let's make them part of the solutions. And that's the one thing that we've done, and I've accomplished to do over the last 3 years in Bellingham, was that I made the town employees feel like they're part of the solutions. You know, a lot of people have this notion that state officials, state workers, county workers, town workers, there is so many good people that are you know, working in the system.
Well, you don't hear about them.
You don't hear about that. You hear about the few of them. You know, the very minority few that they make it like it's the majority. But you know, when you make employees at that public sector, and let's face it, from a public sector standpoint to a private sector standpoint, there is a gap in salaries. They work just as hard as anybody else does. When you make them part of the solution, they work even harder for the commissioners, the taxpayer. They own it. They take ownership, and you make them feel like you're part of the solution. And I can tell you this, I promise you, Anne-Marie, and I'll promise everybody in this county, when I'm elected, they're going to see me everywhere. I'm not going to be an absentee county commissioner. Every selectman, every mayor, every town administrator is going to know who I am. I am going to be there. I am going to ask them, what can the county do for you? How can we help you? How can we work together? This is about working together for the taxpayer. This is not about Mike Soter's agenda. This is not about the Republican Party's agenda. This is about the taxpayer, the people who actually put us there. It is. I'm frustrated on both sides of the spectrum of things, and because sometimes we talk about...
A lot of people are.
They are, Anne-Marie, and we get to a point in the system where, you know, I'm not going to agree with people in my own party 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You know, but there are a lot of great people on the other side that have some core beliefs, but we alienate everybody. And and the problem is, and not just us, the other side does it too. And we need to focus in on strong leadership. We need strong leadership. And to me, this Norfolk County position, every city, when I started looking at running for this position, every town and city in the county pays an assessment to the county. That's how their budget works.
I was going to ask you about that.
Right. And these county commissioners, you know, and that's fine. They're doing their job, but they've asked and they've sent letters to all the state reps. I know they sent one to our state rep, our state rep to the legislature, about expanding their finances or expanding their revenue. My problem is with that. That's fine. You want to ask for an expansion or an addition to revenue, but show us the steps that you've taken to balance your budget. Show us some of the sacrifices and things that you've looked at every research and every possible rock and found every possible crumb of money that you can actually find. And that's where I go back to making the county employees part of the solution. If you make them part of the solution, believe me, you'll find that, because that's what we found in Bellingham, and that's why we're able to put 4 police officers on. That's why we're able to open up our South Station again and save 134 lives over the last year and a half, because we have a 24/7 firefighting staff down there now, and we don't have to do recalls. We can expand our ambulance service. We have an aging population. You know, one great thing about Bellingham is we have a strong nucleus of seniors in our town that know what it's like to not spend money beyond their means. Most of these seniors have owned their houses. They've raised 4 or 5 kids in 2-bedroom houses. Nowadays, you can't find somebody that will raise their children in these types of houses, but they still own those houses. They want to live in those houses. And the great thing about Bellingham is we make it affordable for those seniors to stay there. I was proud to get our seniors involved, because there's a lot of seniors that retire in our town, but they want to keep working. I was proud to be a co-sponsor with the rest of my selectmen in voting yes on taking our tax work-off program of a $750 credit to a $1,000 credit. I was proud to stand with my colleague, Mr. Spencer, who's a vet and who took advantage of the legislation to allow veterans of any age to do the tax work-off. And we are now asking, and we're asking our state legislators. That's not the case
here in Norfolk.
We're asking the state legislatures now, why can't we expand it to spouses? Because a lot of times we have our men and women overseas, their spouses are here.
That's right.
And they're trying to make ends meet.
Right.
So why not let's expand it to the spouses? Because we have a lot of great people with a lot of great energy and enthusiasm and knowledge that can help us.
Now, will you stay on as selectman?
That's my plan.
How much more time do you have as selectman?
I just got reelected for another 3-year term. I ran unopposed, and
the commissioner is a
4-year term.
It's 4-year.
Yeah, my plan is to stay on as a selectman. Now, for some reason, if there's a jurisdiction of duties or things like that I haven't found one yet.
Well, you're not going to be like Lantigua up in...
No, I'm not going to be in Lantigua. And let me tell you, I'm not relying on living off pensions and things like that. So, you know, I have a very good career. The county commissioner positions are, you know, they're technically part-time positions.
Now, what do you do for a living?
I'm a sales manager for a dessert company, a national dessert company. So I travel all. I'm the sales manager for the Northeast.
So do you go to restaurants, or do
I
you
go to mostly predominantly supermarkets and club stores, yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now, tell me a little bit about this local aid, because we were talking about before the show about how the local aid has been slashed.
Right.
But it's my understanding, I could be wrong, but I mean, it's a couple of $1 billion of extra revenue. I believe I saw that in the Herald. So where is this money?
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
it's almost a rhetorical. I think everybody knows where that extra money is going. It's almost a rhetorical question.
Right. I wish I knew, because as a selectman, where we're struggling with local aid in this governor, quite frankly.
Well, it's the EBT. It's all the. I mean, it's all this.
It's everything, Anne Marie. But you know, I have to say that this governor, he's not up for re-election. Okay, but what he could have done was he could have said, you know what, we really need to focus in now on local aid. This would be the year to do it. The economy, in some cases, if you have that much in extra revenue, let's focus in on putting a little bit more back into the communities, because they're strapped. They're strapped.
It's going to the poorer towns, isn't it, primarily?
You know, Anne-Marie, I can't focus what their ulterior motives are or what they're doing. I know, you know, there's.
I know Howie Carr often talks about that.
Well, they're focusing in on a lot of those towns. I mean, quite frankly, I mean, in a lot of those cities. I mean, there are some situations where they need to invest a little bit more. But
they're
we
not
shouldn't
doing
be doing
anything about this outrageous fraud with the EBT.
Well, again, this is an
election.
election.
Thank God for Shauna O'Connell.
Right.
If it weren't for her,
right.
I mean.
Shauna's fantastic. She's been outspoken on this issue, and quite frankly, this is where I talk about leadership. There is no leadership.
Right.
There's nobody standing up. I firmly believe that, you know, we're going to have a new governor. Let's hope that the new governor stands up, and whoever that governor may be, and say, you know what, now is the time for reform. We need reform, and I hope the legislature does the same thing. I hope after this election, we've got some great candidates running out there. A lot of seats are not running unopposed like they were a couple years ago.
Jeff Bailey in Attleboro.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I mean, what we're starting to feel is a wave of taxpayers. A wave of taxpayer sentiment out there that is basically
yeah,
saying
outrage. I mean, people
is
are getting-
outrage, and we need. And I think people are ready for some new ideas.
Well, you know, I mean that whole oh, I lost my train of thought. It was something about the no, go ahead. I'll think of it. It was something to do with Deval. Oh, I know. With this gas tax thing. I mean, who came out on that? Jeff Deal. I mean, you know, then you had the Lyons and Lombardo on the Justina Pelletier thing. I mean, there should have been a lot more. They didn't have to be Republicans. I mean, no, the Pelletier never said anything about what party they were from. I mean, really, they all should have been raising holy hell about that Justina situation with ECF.
It's, you know,
what the heck's going on up there?
The Pelletier situation.
She just went back to her family this morning.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
this morning.
it's wonderful. I mean, I saw the video. It was heartbreaking.
16
you
months.
Know, it's. I just wonder what the long-term repercussions of that are going to be on her. Going through this,
if she,
you know,
it's a darn good question. Well, I think he's going to bring a very big lawsuit, and I mean, it will impact all of us. But I mean, I hope he does because it was outrageous.
Right.
And you know, really, when you think about all those people, I mean, what are they waiting for? You know, why? And even with this, well, they don't want to be contradicted.
Yeah.
On Beacon Hill, they just don't. I mean, the whole business having to get the extra signatures for the gas tax.
Right.
I mean,
the gas tax thing. I mean, it's a fair question to ask. I mean, it's on the inflationary aspect of it. I don't agree with that portion of it.
Well, that's
Take a vote.
yeah.
That's the issue. That's the issue
exactly.
at hand. And I think what we're missing again, it's a leadership aspect of getting out in front of that and talking about the inflationary aspect of that gas tax.
That's true. I often wonder if that got lost a little bit.
It's not about the gas tax. It's about
putting your name on a vote.
Not putting your name on the vote, exactly. And things get done at the state legislature because you have to actually stand out there and fight for your district.
Well,
why would you want to have an inflationary number there?
They'll do it with everything else.
Well, where's the money? How is the money going to get distributed? I mean, there are certain projects.
That's the other thing with the gas tax.
There are certain projects, even Norfolk County. I could say it right here. There are projects in this county, from Bellingham to Quincy to Brookline to Cohasset to Avon to Dedham to Stoughton. Rentham. I don't want to leave anybody out, but it's 28 cities and towns.
That's big.
They all have projects. And what's to say that this inflationary, you have no accountability. You have no strength in numbers for those legislatures to go and fight for that money. By this going up inflationary and not taking up a vote on it and bringing it up every year, that's what we're missing as an argument. The argument is,
I agree with you.
There are projects in Bellingham. I mean, we have our state legislatures fighting for a project in Bellingham. I get it, and it's a project that's well overdue. We need it.
Now, what do? They go in and make a presentation, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, your state legislatures. You have to go for your state senate and your state reps, and you go and you sit down, either the selectmen, and you talk about what we have for future projects, what we have for future economic development that are coming into the district. And we're talking about how we need to expand certain things because those particular businesses have said, you know, we want to come here, but here's where, you know, we can bring this many jobs, but we need this economic development of this area. You've been through Bellingham, you know a little bit about Bellingham, the shop area. I mean, we have to redo that bridge area. It's over capacity. It's there, so going over Hartford Ave.
Oh yes.
It's over capacity.
And also going over 495.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
495.
Hartford,
that needs to be expanded. I mean, it needs a lot of maintenance. It needs a lot of work, and those are things that, you know, that's what you argue about with the gas tax to fund these things in the future. But to just put an arbitrary, we're going to go to the rate of inflation, to me is just, you're taking the debate off the table.
Exactly. Oh,
you're
yes.
taking the debate off the table. So from that standpoint, you know, I think that what's to say that the inflationary number doesn't cover the expenditures that we need to do that year? Then what do we do?
Oh, I never even.
Nobody thinks about this.
Honest to God, I never even thought about that.
What are we going to do? Let bridges and roads just crumble?
Well, it would be a yearly thing, wouldn't it? Doesn't the consumer price index come every year?
So but what if it's not enough to cover what we actually have for maintenance
that
year, maintenance projects that year, or Department of Transportation projects that year? What if we put too
they
many
take
projects?
It from the local aid.
Well, exactly. So this is my point. But what the legislators did on that bill was they took the power of saying what we can actually fund with the funding mechanism that they utilize to fund that, and they're basically taking it. My feeling is on the gas tax. I think a lot of politicians are going to feel the pain on that particular vote, and I think that you're going to see coming into next year, there's going to be a huge debate about saying, well, I think we need to go back to the way we did it, because I think you're going to definitely have a new governor, no matter which way you look at it, and you're going to have some new legislatures and some probably new state senators. So.
Well, you know, there were also, I think there's going to be a number of ballot questions, so that should be interesting, but you just hope that the people will inform themselves. Now, you were telling me something very interesting about Brookline and the local aid. Could you?
Well, Brookline,
we have a few
Brookline
minutes left. I'm curious to hear
Brookline
that story.
pays this assessment, as we do, and I think it was back in 2011.
And what's that based on?
It's based on the assessments of the town, the valuations of the town.
And that's property tax
and things like that, you know, valuations of the town. So what they go through the DOR, the tax revenue that comes in, DOR takes a percentage of that and brings it to the county. Each county pays a percentage of that. Well, Brookline, like everybody else, because their local aid is smaller and getting smaller by the year, they were looking at, we're paying almost $700,000 in revenue, but what are we doing with Norfolk County? What's going on? And a lot of people
through the county.
Through the county. And my feeling is on that is that a couple things. The people there are frustrated, the taxpayers are frustrated, and they should be. But that just tells me that the county commissioners haven't done a good enough job. I'm all about marketing. If I wasn't my success in private sector has been marketing my products, marketing myself. You should be marketing the county so that it doesn't get to that point.
So they're saying, what are we getting for the $700,000?
Right, when we can be utilizing it for our schools, for our roads, for our police, for our fire, for our municipality buildings, you know? So, you know,
so
it's easy to say, well, we maintenance a courthouse. Well, okay, that's great, but you really need to go there and be involved. You need to roll up your sleeves and make yourself visible, talk about some of the different things. Well, I believe they petitioned the state House, the legislature. They wanted to get out of Norfolk County.
So what would that mean?
Well, you lose that revenue if they did.
So they would just not be part of the county.
Well, I think they wanted to go to Suffolk County. I think they wanted to change counties, and what ended up happening, because Suffolk doesn't have a strong county government, so we're one of, I think, 3 county governments that still have a strong county government. So what you would do is they would go into another county.
But that was rejected.
That was rejected. It didn't go anywhere.
It was more of a gesture than anything else, wasn't it?
And county commissioners, I believe my opponent at one point was quoted at one point saying that, you know, he's going to work closely with them to try to figure out a solution. But I believe that was in 2011. I know I've been campaigning in Brookline. It's still a heated discussion in Brookline. It's a lot of tax revenue. And I get it. I feel that. And I feel as a taxpayer, I would be upset too. You have to understand, you know, this county budget, when you look at it, you know, I look at it and there's not a lot of explanation underneath of what each department is. Again, to me, that is getting the employees involved in the solutions. You know, there's a lot of people, there's 2 sides of it. Why does the county own, no government entity should own a golf course? There are some people who believe that. There are some people who feel that it's a good tax revenue, it's a good revenue base. You know, I'm kind of on the side of, if you can prove to me that what you're taking in and what you're spending and you're actually making money, it could be a good thing. I don't want to give up on that, but what they should be doing in the budget is putting that public supplemental budget together under that line item for the golf course to itemize everything out, what revenue you're bringing in. Separate the revenue. Don't just lump it in to the budget and just say we have one general revenue budget. Take the different sources of revenue that you have so that we can go out to the public and we can speak to that. I know this, if we continue to do the budget the way they're doing it, when I go meet with the mayors, the selectmen, the town administrators, I'm going to sit down with them, I'm going to have the budget, but I'm also going to have the explanation of each line item in the budget so that I can explain to them, this is what we're doing here, this is what we're doing here. I'd be happy. I'm going to have office hours in every one of those districts throughout the year. I'm going to be visible. I'm going to talk to people. That's what I want to do. That's what you elect people to do.
Well, you know, we're going to have to close, but thank you so much for coming on. I wish you all the luck. It sounds like a really very energized campaign, and
it is. I'm excited about it.
And I mean, you have
I'm
a lot
very
of
excited about it.
You know,
excited about it. I am excited.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Emery. I appreciate the time.
And thank you for watching State and Local. I'm hoping to have Michael Soter back a little closer to November so we can talk about what's happened in the meantime. And again, thank you for watching State and Local. I'm Anne Marie Battistone, and this is Norfolk Cable Access.